Kaya sat under the ancient baobab tree, her voice weaving tales of the ancestors as the village children gathered around her. Her stories were more than entertainment, they were lessons of courage, love, and wisdom. At 25, Kaya was the heart of the village, her beauty as striking as her gift for storytelling. Her curves were the subject of admiration and envy, but it was her spirit that truly captivated everyone. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Kaya noticed a stranger approaching the village. He was dressed in fine clothes, a stark contrast to the simple attire of the villagers. His name was Chipo, a 30-year-old businessman from the city, and he had come to the village with an offer that would change Kaya's life forever. Chipo's arrival caused a stir in the village. His polished shoes and tailored suit made him stand out like a peacock among sparrows. He had heard of Kaya's beauty and storytelling prowess and was determined to meet her. When he finally saw her under the baobab tree, he was mesmerized. Her laughter was like music, and her presence commanded attention. Chipo wasted no time in introducing himself. "I've traveled far to meet you, Kaya," he said, his voice smooth and confident. "Your stories have reached even the city, and I believe you deserve more than this village can offer." Kaya was flattered but cautious. She had never met anyone like Chipo, and his words stirred something deep within her. Chipo's offer was simple yet life-changing. He wanted Kaya to move to the city with him, where she could live in luxury and share her stories with a wider audience. He promised her a life of comfort, far removed from the hardships of village life. The villagers whispered among themselves, some envious, others worried. Kaya was the heart of their community, and the thought of her leaving was unsettling. Kaya listened carefully, her mind racing. The city sounded exciting, but she couldn't ignore the pang of sadness at the thought of leaving her home. That evening, she sought the advice of Kago, a 35-year-old local guide who had always been a steady presence in her life. Kago was quiet but wise, and Kaya trusted him implicitly. Kago listened as Kaya recounted Chipo's offer. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of concern. "The city can offer many things," he said slowly, "but it can also take away what matters most. Your stories are rooted in this land, Kaya. They are a part of who you are." Kaya nodded, her heart heavy with conflict. She had always dreamed of seeing the world beyond the village, but Kago's words struck a chord. "What should I do?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Kago smiled gently. "Only you can answer that, Kaya. But remember, true happiness comes from staying true to yourself." Chipo was persistent, and he soon arranged a private dinner for Kaya under the stars. He spared no expense, bringing fine food and wine from the city. As they ate, Chipo spoke of his life in the city, the parties, the opportunities, the wealth. Kaya was intrigued but couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. As the night wore on, Chipo took her hand and looked into her eyes. "Come with me, Kaya," he said. "I can give you everything you've ever wanted." Kaya's heart raced. The offer was tempting, but she couldn't ignore the nagging doubt in her mind. She excused herself, promising to give him an answer soon. News of Chipo's offer spread quickly, and the village was divided. Some urged Kaya to seize the opportunity, while others begged her to stay. The elders reminded her of her duty to the community, while the younger villagers envied her chance at a better life. Kaya felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on her. That night, she dreamed of the city, its towering buildings and bustling streets. But in her dream, she was alone, her stories unheard and her spirit lost. She woke up in a cold sweat, her heart pounding. The dream felt like a warning, but she wasn't sure what it meant. Kaya sought out Kago again, hoping for clarity. This time, he was more open. "I've always admired you, Kaya," he confessed. "Not just for your beauty or your stories, but for the way you bring people together. You have a gift, and I believe it belongs here, in the village." Kaya was taken aback. She had never thought of Kago as more than a friend, but his words stirred something in her. "Do you think I should stay?" she asked. Kago nodded. "I do. But the choice is yours, and I'll support you no matter what." Kaya spent the next few days in deep thought. She walked through the village, taking in the sights and sounds that had always been a part of her life. She visited the baobab tree, the river, and the market, each place holding memories that tugged at her heart. One evening, as she watched the sunset, she made her decision. She would stay in the village. The city might offer luxury, but it couldn't offer the love and connection she felt here. She went to Chipo and thanked him for his offer but told him she couldn't accept. Chipo was disappointed but respectful. "I understand, Kaya," he said. "But if you ever change your mind, you know where to find me." He left the village the next day, leaving Kaya with a mix of relief and uncertainty. As she watched him go, Kaya felt a sense of peace. She had made the right choice, but she couldn't ignore the lingering question of what her future held. With Chipo gone, Kaya threw herself into her storytelling. She organized a festival to celebrate the village's traditions, inviting neighboring communities to join. Kago helped her with the preparations, and their bond grew stronger. As they worked together, Kaya realized that Kago had always been there for her, steady and reliable. She began to see him in a new light, and her heart stirred with feelings she hadn't expected. The festival was a resounding success. Kaya's stories captivated the audience, and the village came alive with music, dance, and laughter. Kago stood by her side, his quiet strength a comforting presence. As the night wore on, Kaya felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had chosen her path, and it felt right. She looked at Kago and smiled, knowing that her future was here, in the village, with him. In the weeks that followed, Kaya and Kago grew closer. They spent their days working together and their evenings sharing stories under the stars. Kaya's heart was full, and she realized that she had found true love in the most unexpected place. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Kago took her hand. "Kaya," he said, "I've loved you for as long as I can remember. Will you let me be a part of your story?" Kaya's eyes filled with tears as she nodded. "Yes, Kago. You already are." Kago's proposal was simple but heartfelt. He gave Kaya a handmade bracelet, each bead representing a chapter of their story. "This is just the beginning," he said. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you, building a future together." Kaya accepted without hesitation. She knew that with Kago by her side, she could face any challenge. Their love was rooted in the village, and it would grow stronger with each passing day. The village celebrated Kaya and Kago's wedding with joy and enthusiasm. The baobab tree was decorated with flowers, and the air was filled with music and laughter. Kaya wore a traditional dress, her beauty radiant as she walked down the aisle. As they exchanged vows, Kaya felt a deep sense of gratitude. She had found love, happiness, and fulfillment in the place she called home. Her story was just beginning, and she couldn't wait to see where it would lead. Kaya and Kago's life together was filled with love and adventure. They continued to work together, preserving the village's traditions and sharing their stories with the world. Kaya's storytelling reached new heights, and she became a symbol of hope and inspiration. As they sat under the baobab tree one evening, Kaya reflected on her journey. She had faced many challenges, but she had stayed true to herself. With Kago by her side, she knew that her story would continue to inspire generations to come. Kaya and Kago's love story became a legend in the village. Their commitment to each other and their community inspired others to follow their dreams. Kaya's stories were passed down from generation to generation, keeping the village's traditions alive. As the years passed, Kaya and Kago grew old together, with their kids, their love as strong as ever. They had built a life filled with love, happiness, and fulfillment, and their legacy would live on forever. Years later, Chipo returned with his family to the village. He had heard of Kaya and Kago's success and wanted to see it for himself. He was amazed by the changes in the village and the impact Kaya had made. Chipo apologized for his past actions and thanked Kaya for teaching him the true meaning of love and happiness. Kaya forgave him, and they parted as friends, each grateful for the lessons they had learned. Kaya and Kago's children grew up hearing their parents' stories. They were proud of their heritage and committed to preserving the village's traditions. Kaya's storytelling inspired them to follow their dreams, and they became leaders in their own right. As Kaya watched her children grow, she felt a deep sense of pride. Her story had come full circle, and she knew that her legacy would live on through them. As Kaya grew older, she continued to share her stories with the village. Her voice was softer now, but her words were just as powerful. She had lived a life filled with love, happiness, and fulfillment, and she had no regrets. One evening, as she sat under the baobab tree, Kaya closed her eyes and smiled. She had written her story, and it was a story of love, courage, and hope. She knew that her journey was complete, then she was ready to pass the torch to the next generation. Kaya's story became a part of the village's history, a tale of love and resilience that would never be forgotten. Her spirit lived on in the hearts of the villagers, and her stories continued to inspire. As the sun set over the savannah, the villagers gathered under the baobab tree to honor Kaya's memory. They told her stories, sang her songs, and celebrated her life. Kaya's story was eternal, a testament to the power of love and the strength of the human spirit. The end.